Everything's going to be fine. Yes, prep school's a little alien to you, but it's not literally alien. I mean, it's not as if I have left this world. Some of the same rules must apply. And then, don't let Dad know you're scared, because he'll just make it about him. Then I start to see and hear things that I am not actually seeing or hearing. I mean, I am actually seeing and hearing them, but I am not in the place where these things are being seen and heard. I do not know how I got here, but I am in someone else's head. The boy whose head I'm in is looking out the window of a car. We, is in the passenger seat. He swings his head to the left. What I am seeing through these eyes that are not mine in this place where I am not is a man I don't know, about 50 years old, and he's driving a late-model Ford Silverado. He fiddles with the radio and settles on an Eagles song, Lion Eyes. For those of you not familiar with their repertoire, this song's about a guilty but incorrigibly unfaithful woman. The man nods through the chorus, a faraway look in his eyes, then starts to twist an unfashionable and graying mustache. A new thought accompanies this not terribly pleasant image. It is, God, I hate this song, because this song reminds me of Mom, except that it's so 70s and Mom is so 90s. I see a flash of hair with very obvious chunky highlights, a brightly colored yoga bag, a dark pedicure inside a pair of lime green slip-on wedge open-toed mules, and finally, a matching new Beetle. This, I take it, is his mom. Nice to meet you. And suddenly, no thoughts, just buildings. The prep school, the source of anxiety, the major one at least. I see brick dormitories around one end of an academic quad, and in the middle of it, a statue of a man on a horse. On the other end is a very old building, a tiny windowed wooden 2-story colonial, and a considerably more imposing building with a clock tower. There are a few graceful stands of maple and ash trees, the tips of their branches just starting to redden and yellow. At the far end, past the quad, is a chapel made of stone as well. Its stained glass windows glow blue and violet through a web of foliage. On a patch of grass in front of the clock tower building is a wooden sign reading, Midvale Academy. A question. Does Gideon know I'm here? I guess not, because then we would be having a conversation. We won't stop looking at the chapel. Why? Is young Gid interested in stained glass? No. I wonder if this chapel would be a good place to... The thought trips on itself. First, it is a good place to have sex. Then, holy fuck, which one? I laugh out loud, forgetting that I am with friends who look at me like I am crazy. I think about sex, but never like this, never with a twinge of ashamed panic like, oh God, I'm thinking about sex again. Now this. That chapel would be a good place to hook up with a girl if I were the kind of guy who could get girls to hook up with me. Do I like this place or do I want to go home? The grass here is so green. I feel like it's laughing at me. The boy who owns this mind is very vulnerable and rather sweet. He has been on the road since dawn. He is hungry and craving root beer. He's holding in his hands a glossy black and red folder that reads Midvale Academy, New Student Information. He opens the folder, and the first sheet of paper is addressed to Gideon Rayburn, 989 Christmas Park Circle, Fairfax, Virginia. The Silverado has stopped in front of a brick Georgian-style dorm called Proctor. This person, this Gideon Rayburn, knows he's going to have to get out of the car eventually, but he's not ready. A glance inside the windows of this building, his new home, is not at all heartening. On the first floor, a kid with floppy blonde hair hangs a Bruce Lee poster above his bed, then goes to the closet and lovingly hangs up a white gi with a brown karate belt. On the second floor, A lumbering sort in a baseball hat and overalls conducts a symphony, Schubert, with a plastic spoon. Gid's reaction to them is both surprising and cute. He thinks, fuck these guys. Okay, he knows he's partly jealous, but he's also heard how everyone at Midvale is good at something, and confronted with it for the first time, he kind of wants to puke. Why, he wonders, does everyone have to be talented? I am sympathetic to what Gid sees as an insidious moment in history, one where everyone has to be a star. Appealingly, he seems to lack this drive. He doesn't lack ambition altogether, but even though we've just met, I can safely say he seems most invested in being a well-liked person. It's just a hunch, a warm hunch. Gid enjoys a righteous moment of feeling just regular, decent. He looks in the mirror, and for the first time, I can see his face. This feels extremely weird because up to now, when I looked in a mirror, I saw me. Instead, I see a boy who does a handsome job of regular. I like the squareness of his mouth, and the way his nut-brown eyes and wavy hair match. His hair isn't creepy, run-your-hand-over-it wavy. It's loose, cute, beachy wavy. A little too long. Anyway, looking in the mirror, what Gid sees is a guy who, despite his anxieties about this place, really, really doesn't want to go home. And the reason is sitting right next to him. Jim Rayburn. Gid's mind isn't quite sure where to start on this, and neither am I, but here goes. Jim Rayburn, born 1959, Newport News, Virginia. Pisces dog. He's a contractor. He was dumped about 2 years ago by Gid's mother. Capricorn pig. What a terrible match. That's my thought, not Gid's. Boys don't know anything about astrology, although Gid's dad being a perfect example, they really should. Wendy Rayburn, a carefree spirit in her lime green mules if there ever was one, fell in love with Gid's middle school science teacher, Mr. Soames. Gid thought Mr. Soames was gay. He now has proof, some of it, unfortunately, audible, that this is not true. Gid's dad spends a lot of time tugging his mustache, smoking Carlton 100s, and looking at Gid with a forlorn expression that says, "Don't make the same mistakes I've made." Jim is a weird combination of emotionally clueless and needy. He never asks Gid a single question about anything, school, girls, visits to his mother, but he's real big on things like hugs and punching Gid on the arm, lots of forced bon ami. They say a boy needs his father, and I would never say that Jim Rayburn is a terrible person, but it's probably good that Gid's getting away, for both of us, because Gid needs to figure out who he is. And if I'm going to be spending a lot of my time inside Gideon Rayburn's head for a reason that I do not yet understand, there are a lot better things to think about than why Gid and his dad don't have a perfect relationship. For example, I understand that Gid is unclear about when and if he will be having sex in the chapel, but how exactly can he be unclear on whether or not he's a virgin? Tiny Dancer. The last 12 hours of Gid's life are about as clear as the last 12 hours of my own. That is, they are very clear, almost as if I had lived them myself. I am glad I didn't, though, since he spent most of them trapped in the car with his dad. Let's go back 5 hours. We are in the grass-blown, wild-flowered, but not especially fascinating landscape of central Connecticut, and Gid is in the midst of a Things You Love exercise that he got from his mother's Journal of the Zen Hut. The exercise suggests that in times of negativity, you should think of, as the title not so subtly suggests, things you love. He intones, cookies, street hockey, kissing, my down comforter that smells like bleach, kissing again. Really? Interesting how he hasn't mentioned sex yet. Told you, sometimes boys feel like girls. How are you feeling about your new school situation? Jim Rayburn blurts out, ruining what was